Jackson was seen with teary eyes as he broke down during his rehearsals for the upcoming concerts when he was made aware of these allegations.
Yeah, I'm just gonna watch. And the winner is...
And the winner is...
And the winner is...
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson.
Love that fit. That Grammys fit.
This is wonderful. Thank you again to everybody. I'm really happy. Thank you, Quincy, and thank you for all the promotion people, including Freddie Man, and the wonderful fans and disc jockeys. Thank you so much.
Michael Jackson is fascinating in that it is not about Jackson at all. I hope he has the good sense to know it. Hold on. The Michael Jackson cacophony is fascinating in that it is not about Jackson at all. I hope he has the good sense to know it. Good sense to know it in the good fortune to snatch his life out of the jaws of a carnivorous success. He will not swiftly be forgiven for having turned so many tables, for he damn sure grabbed the brass ring, and the man who broke the bank at Monte Carlo has nothing on Michael. So, shout out to James Baldwin, man, one of the greatest philosophers of our time. Or all time.
Michael Jackson, the king of pop, whose reign in the world of music and dance spanned for decades, and continues to this day. Starting off from a very young age 5, he cultivated his skills and talent to such an utmost perfection that the only competition was none but himself. From breaking worldwide records, to being revered and invited by notable figures, and being on the same pedestal as that of powerful leaders, he climbed the stairs of profound success and superstardom. But was his struggle and stardom that easy? As he became more popular, the media became more and more aggressive towards him. His appearance, words, and actions were being intentionally and maliciously manipulated and distorted by the media to portray him as an eccentric freak. They completely dehumanized him, making him fair game to bully, torment, and disrespect. The headlines were full of malicious phrases like freak, bizarre, weird, wacko jacko, and sicko. As the years passed by, especially around the 80s, there was a notable change in Jackson's appearance. His skin color had started to grow more and more pale, and his nose had become smaller. Media took hold of this opportunity, and said he bleached his skin to become white, and made it sound like a choice that Michael made for not wanting to be black. This narrative was, however, demonstrably false and fabricated, as there were many physiological and immunological factors that contributed to the change in his appearance.
This is the situation. I have a skin disorder that destroys the pigmentation of the skin. It's something that I cannot help, okay? But when people make up stories that I don't want to be who I am, it hurts me.
On the Oprah Winfrey Show, that he at one point actually showed them. It didn't get on camera, of course. He was just showing them off camera. He rolled up his sleeve, and that the skin was mottled. There were blotches.
Vitiligo is a medical condition that Jackson claimed.
God is interesting. God said, okay, Michael, I will make you the greatest entertainer of all time. I'm also gonna give you vitiligo, amongst lupus, amongst other things. God is interesting, man. Shout out to God, man.
Has afflicted him for more than 20 years. This disfiguring skin disease affects nearly 2% of the world's population and strips all pigmentation from the skin. The result is not just pale, but porcelain white.
The beginnings of the vitiligo started happening relatively early. You know, he even was trying to hide it from me. He tried to hide it for quite a while. You know, we'd always try to cover with makeup and even out his skin tone and everything until it just got so extensive. I mean, it's all over his body. We were always trying to hide it and cover it for the longest time until he just had to tell Oprah and tell the world, listen, I'm not trying to be white. I have a skin disease.
The loss of pigment exposes vitiligo sufferers to great risk of skin cancer, requiring constant shade from the sun and thick makeup or sunblock to lessen the exposure.
You know, in the beginning, I tried to cover the light spots to the darkest part of his skin, but then it became so extensive that we had to go with the lighter part of his skin because his whole body was reacting. He'd have to be in complete, full body makeup every inch of his body, you know, so it was easier to make the transition to him being to the lighter shade that he is.
I think people don't realize how unbelievably psychologically handicapping something like that can be, because if you think about it, every day you wake up and your physical appearance is changing, you're depigmenting, and if you look at it from a racial perspective, you almost feel as if you're losing your racial identity, your family identity. The melanocytes are killed. It's called vitiligo. It's believed to be an autoimmune disorder, and what happens is you want to even out the skin tone, and a lot of people that have vitiligo, what they do is they depigment as a whole. Now what happens when you're a famous Afro-American star that does that, though, you're seen as rejecting your culture, as rejecting your race, even though it's something that's quite widely practiced for people that have this condition and quite severely have it.
Despite the fact that Jackson revealed about his struggle with vitiligo, people didn't believe it until it literally took his death to finally prove that he indeed suffered from vitiligo, which was revealed in his autopsy too. It was also proven that Jackson was prescribed to use Benecon cream by the doctor to even out the skin tone. Note that this medication only works on vitiligo patients and has no effect on normal people.
It's a problem for me, okay? I can't control it, okay? But what about all the millions of people? Let's reverse it. What about all the millions of people who sit out in the sun to become darker, to become other than what they are? Nobody says nothing about that. We're trying to control it, and using makeup evens it out because it makes blotches on the skin, and I have to even out my skin. But you know what's funny? Why is that so important? You know, that's not important to me. I'm a great fan of art. I love Michelangelo. If I had a chance to talk to him or read about him, I would want to know about what inspired him to become who he is, the anatomy of his craftsmanship, not about who he went out with last night or why he decided to sit out in the sun so long. What's wrong with, I mean, that's what's important to me.
Well, I find this to be so funny. Like, my mom would tell this story like every time I talk about Michael Jackson, we bring up Michael Jackson. My son, every time he saw Michael Jackson, he's like, "Oh, which one you like, the white one or the black one?" And my son was like, "I like both of them." Right? It's like I didn't care like which one. Like at first, I thought, "Is that two different people?" But then after a while, it's like, "Oh, that's the same person." Okay, cool. Like it literally, I paid it no mind. Of course, you're like, "Man, what happened to him?" But I literally could not care less as a child. As a child. I'm like, okay, it just is what it is for whatever reason. I didn't know he had vitiligo till, I don't know, in my teens. But it's like, I didn't care. Like, it's about the art. It's about who he is as a person. Like, who cares about his appearance? But yeah, we live in such a fickle, vain society. It's crazy, man.
He thought they were eccentricities. Could this in fact be a personal style that evolved to disguise a serious disease?
Michael's appearance had altered so much that it was clear that the changes weren't all to do with his skin condition.
Many patients with lupus have vitiligo.
It started on his hand. The glove came into being to camouflage.
Quite a few of my patients have fibromyalgia. He may have suffered from that. Very common to be an insomniac.
One thing you say to lupus patients, don't let the sun hit your skin.
That's right.
In early 80s, Jackson fractured his nose while rehearsing for a concert, and had to undergo a rhinoplasty surgery. The surgery, however, led him to suffer from acute breathing problems, and was compelled to undergo a second nose surgery. A bizarre firework accident in 1984, when Michael was performing Billie Jean with his 4 brothers for a Pepsi commercial, resulted in Michael suffering second and third degree burns to his head. Plastic surgery was required to restore his appearance. The medication prescribed to Michael Jackson during this time led to his long-term addiction to painkillers.
When he burnt his hair at the Pepsi commercial, he started using painkillers then. He then fell from a stage and broke his leg. He also cracked a vertebrae in his back, and those things have caused him terrible pain.
The scars from the burn never really recovered, because of the pre-existing autoimmune disorder lupus. The attempts to reduce the scars weren't successful, and Jackson was compelled to wear wigs for the rest of his life.
But I said Michael lucky because that could have went way worse. If it wasn't caught in time, that fire could have spread and it could have really messed him up. So it's like lucky that it got to him when he did. Like, shout out to the people that was on the stage that got to him. But yeah, it's just like Michael went through a lot, bro. Like, people be forgetting how much Michael went through, bro.
The accident was so intense that the injury caused to his scalp by the accident remained sensitive for life. Even 23 years later, Jackson could still feel the excruciating pain from the scars. How the public perceive Michael Jackson is largely influenced by the racist narratives that underpin the media. What does Michael Jackson look like? What kind of man was he? Why did his nose become smaller? Why did his hair become straight? Why did he wear such unique clothes? Why did he wear a mask? The chances are, you were taught the answers to these questions by the media. They sensationalized a museum that showcased the changes in the shape of Jackson's nose, which was overly exaggerated anyway.
Are you serious?
Does it get any more absurd and ridiculous?
Wow.
And what was the
hate.
obsession with Michael's paternity?
Well, one glimpse at Michael Jackson will show you that he doesn't really look like an African-American man anymore. I think the Jackson family is all about this. I think that's why they'll fight for the children, because where the children go, that's where the money goes.
Who's the real baby daddy of at least the first 2 kids? These kids are not biologically related to Michael Jackson.
They're not.
And I keep reporting that, and the fans keep saying, no, they are. They're his.
Yeah.
No, they're not.
They're not.
Get a clue. Get a clue.
Because, well, the children don't necessarily, and I guess the biracial children could look different, and they can be whiter or darker, or they can be sort of all one or all the other.
Blue eyes, not so much.
It's quite evident that Jackson's eldest son, Prince Michael Jackson, too has inherited the same skin disorder vitiligo that his father suffered from.
It is Michael Jackson, and he lives to be...
Now, those are his kids regardless. I'm just leaving it at that. I'm not even going... That's the only one of the rare things I don't know. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. But you got corporations that literally build empires off of hating someone like a Michael Jackson, bro. It's insane, bro. It's society, dog.
Strange. He's in free fall now, and we all gotta stay glued to the set till we see the splat.
You can easily sense the sheer racism and hatred in their tone. How hateful can one get to rip off the pride of a black American for being a father of his children? Exhilarating rumors about him sleeping in a hyperbaric chamber, buying the bones of the Elephant Man, questions surrounding his sexuality and virginity made headlines. while some went as far as to claim that Michael, LaToya, and Janet were the same person. Even today, Jackson's photographs are distorted, and the disfigured images of his face are used in horror video games, sold on bags and t-shirts, making him a subject of ridicule and mockery. Media's obsession and the systematic racism had a lot to do with Jackson's ethnicity. A racist and derogatory slur, Wacko Jacko, was increasingly used by the British tabloids from the 80s onwards to denote Jackson. The origin of the term Jacko is linked with the term Jacko Macaco, which was the name of a famous monkey that was used in monkey baiting matches in London in the early 1820s. Subsequently, the term Jacko, or Jacko Macaco, was a Cockney slang to refer to monkeys in general. And Jackson, being an African American, was hence started to be related with this term more often.
And this you should not do. You should not say he's an animal. Should not say he's Jacko. I'm not a Jacko. I'm Jackson. Yeah, Wacko Jacko. Where'd that come from? Some English tabloid. I have a heart and I have feelings. I feel that when you do that to me. It's not nice. Don't do it. I'm not a wacko.
But you are somewhat eccentric, to say the least. The way you dress, the way you look, it invites attention. The whole appearance, as you grew up, was larger than life, more extreme. You don't think that calls the paparazzi to you?
No.
No?
No. Maybe I like to live that way. I like to dress that way. I don't want paparazzi, really. But if they come, be kind. Write the right kind thing to write. I've been living in that kind of life all my life. The tabloid press, that kind of press, not the press, the tabloid, the paparazzi, that type. I've been running for my life like that, hiding, getting away. You can't go that way because they're over there. And well, let's go this way. Pretend we're going that way and we'll go that way. Somebody say, hold on, stop. This person deserves their privacy. You are not allowed to go there.
Years of bullying and dehumanizing had gotten to a point where Jackson started to hate his own appearance. In 2001, on the sets of You Rock My World, they wanted to darken his skin and remold his nose a little. Shortly after hearing this, Michael locked himself in the bathroom and began to break everything. When Frank Cascio came in, Michael was sitting on the floor, cutting his hair. So now his hair is half long, half short. He held his head in his hands, and while sobbing he said, "Would you believe it? They think I'm ugly. They want to remold my nose. What is wrong in me? I don't tell them how they should be. They think I'm a monster. I'm a monster. I'm a monster." They destroyed his self-confidence and made him think that he's some kind of a monster. Yet, the monstrous treatment of Jackson by the media continued, and later, it got even worse.
I want to set the record straight, that if people hear a lie long enough, people believe it, that people have lied on me. I'm a black American and I'm proud of it, and I'm honored of it. The bleach skin rumor, which is a rumor, I don't bleach my skin. They once said I wanted a white kid to play me as a child, which was a rumor. Inauguration rumor, saying I didn't want to do President Clinton's inauguration. I'm not gay. This says, don't judge a person unless you have spoken to them one-on-one, which is true. I made a list of things. When I get angry enough, I write down what I want to say and what I want to talk about to set the record straight. Because you get to a point where you get tired of people lying. I get tired of situations like this, where people completely lie on me, and I'm sick of it.
The paparazzi are known for their lack of physical and ethical boundaries, in their eagerness to capture celebrities' most private moments. In 1997, they were largely responsible for the car accident that took the life of one of Michael Jackson's dear friends, Princess Diana.
That's where I don't understand how paparazzi didn't become illegal. Like, how does it not? Like, you killed a princess of a country, and it's still not made to be illegal. I don't get it, man. But it all goes back to the money and power. Like, There's too much money in tabloids for them not to continue to allow it to happen. But that's crazy, man. Man, R.I.P. Diana, dog.
Remember something. Just because it's in print doesn't mean it's the gospel. People write negative things because they feel that's what sells. Good news to them doesn't sell.
Why would I want a white child to play me? I'm a black American. I'm proud to be a black American. I am proud of my race. I am proud of who I am. I have a lot of pride in who I am and dignity.
And do me a favor, don't read the tabloids.
Despite of what the press say about celebrities or myself in general, I move ahead. I don't pay attention to it because it's garbage, it's tabloid junk, and it's not important to me.
Media's obsession with Michael Jackson evidently got nothing to do with his artistry or him as an entertainer. They were heavily vested in their efforts in fabricating a caricature out of his life and even his existence. Jackson couldn't control, and he hit back with a message to the media. He responded to the negativity that was being propagated by the zealous media and press through the lyrics of his songs. Over the years, his songs were more unapologetic towards the tabloids, vividly evident in his songs such as Tabloid Junkie, Privacy, Threatened, Is It Scary, and many more, where Jackson points out how the media deliberately invaded his personal space for years and crafted a monstrous caricature out of his life.
They say he's homosexual.
There are
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but yeah.
other issues when it comes to Michael Jackson and his skin tone. One of them was often addressed by him, that white America never forgave him for breaking records and becoming more famous than their idols, mainly white artists.
I would say media, not America. I would say the media. But there is a portion of America that didn't forgive, yeah.
Past Elvis Presley, the Beatles, and many more untouchables. The moment that happened, some people began to not only root for his downfall, but to actively work for it. As if the fact that a young black man was taking the world by storm was wrong and abnormal, and he needed to be put back in his place to where he belongs. Unfortunately, this didn't end with tabloids.
Tonight on Hard Copy, explosive new charges against Michael Jackson. Tonight, Hard Copy's Diane Diamond reveals the exclusive details behind the child abuse allegation.
The official documents that I've seen include a very detailed account of just what this 13-year-old boy says happened to him.
The case was, however, settled out of court, which many media outlets publicized as hush money. It was only later that it was revealed that the father of the boy had a hidden agenda against Jackson. Michael Jackson met Jordan Chandler in 1992, after the star's car had broken down, and he went to a nearby car rental agency that was owned by the boy's stepfather, David Schwartz. From then on, a friendship and a close relation developed between the star and the family. There were rumors that Jackson was thinking of settling down with the mother June Chandler, and adopting her son Jordan and his sister Lily. Jackson used to shower them with several gifts. He gifted June an expensive bracelet, which wasn't merely a bracelet, but a prisoner of love bracelet, which comes with a key. It's given to a woman on a very special occasion, when a man wants to convey to her that he is locking himself up with her in a kind of a solemn ritual. In fact, June was the only one who actually accompanied Michael wherever he went, though no other woman in his surrounding ever did it, and that too, so openly. Except for his future wives Lisa Marie Presley and Debbie Rowe. She was the first woman to stay with Michael in his hotel suites, and accompany him to many places of the world, including the official ceremonies. He even introduced her to the royalty, by taking her and her kids to a party thrown by Prince Albert of Monaco. Michael for quite some time stayed in June Chandler's house, and used to arrive there every day in time for the family dinner, and help Jordan to do his homework. If this was supposed to be his family, it was a natural thing for him to treat Jordan like his own son, and Lily like his own daughter. However, his increasing closeness with the family didn't go down well for Jordan's biological father, Evan Chandler, who was divorced from Jordan's mother for 7 years. According to June, Evan did not spend much time with his son. He was rather busy writing screenplays, and was an abusive man with a haughty temper. He was absent in their life, until Jackson started spending more time with them. The moment he learned about his son's and wife's increasing closeness to Michael, he reappeared in their lives, and took it as an opportunity to fulfill several demands. He asked Jackson to build an addition to his house, to help him with his screenwriting career, and make him a partner in his movie company. All of which Jackson declined. This is when Evan suddenly started suspecting Jordan to be sexually abused by the star. Jordan, despite demands from Evan, refused to call his father, on Father's Day. Because of his repeated refusal to return his phone calls, Evan Chandler left a threatening message on June Chandler's answering machine. Evan attributed Jordan's refusal to talk to him, to Jackson's influence on the boy. As if Evan's mania, threats, temper tantrums, and weird sexual suggestions and questions, would not be enough to alienate a child. Jordan's stepfather David Schwartz then recorded 3 telephonic conversations he had with Evan Chandler, which reveals his wrath against Jackson.
This man is going to be humiliated beyond belief. He will not believe it. He will not believe what's going to happen. Beyond worst nightmares. Sell one more record. If I go through with this, I win big time. I will get everything I want, and they will be destroyed forever.
Rather than obvious concern for his son, it was Evan's hurt ego, and jealousy, which was vividly evident throughout the duration of the recorded tape.
To tell you the truth, Dave, it would be a lot easier for me, and a lot more satisfying to see everybody get destroyed, like they've destroyed me, but it would be a lot easier. All I can think about is I only have one goal, and the goal is to get their attention.
Evan then goes on to complain that Jackson stopped calling him.
There was no reason why he had to stop calling me. He could have called me.
So why do you think he's not nice?
Why? Because he broke up the family, that's why.
Evan further divulged to David Schwartz about his plan for an extortion attempt.
There are other people involved that are waiting for my phone call. I paid them to do it. They're doing their job. Everything is going according to a certain plan. That isn't just mine. There's other people involved.
This attorney I found, I interviewed several, and I picked the nastiest son of a bitch I could find.
All he wants to do is get this out in the public as fast as he can, as big as he can, and humiliate as many people as he can. He's nasty. He's very smart, and he's hungry for the publicity.
Once I make that phone call, this guy is just going to destroy everybody in sight. Any devious, nasty, cruel way that he can do it. And I've given him full authority to do that. It'll be a massacre if I don't get what I want.
This attorney was Barry Rothman, who Evan hired as a catalyst for his plan. This is the same lawyer who in 1992 represented a client in a custody battle, who accused her estranged companion of molesting their child, which the man denied. When Rothman was fired by the woman, he went on.
To me, doesn't he look like the dude off Beverly Hillbillies? Who am I thinking of? The father? Was it like Jed Clampett or something? Don't he look like Jed Clampett? Well, he actually looks like a KFC. No, never mind.
To represent the man's company without notifying his former client. For this, Rothman was disciplined by the state's bar. Evan threatened to set the plan in motion if Jackson, June, and Jordan don't appear at the meeting on July 9th.
I'm going to torture them, Dave. Because that's what June has done to me. She has tortured me.
David Schwartz and June Chandler handed over these tapes to Anthony Pellicano, a private investigator working for Jackson's lawyer. Pellicano, without Jackson being present, asked the boy very specific questions about whether he has ever been molested or inappropriately touched by the entertainer. The boy repeatedly denied any wrongdoing and said his father only wanted money. Later, Evan gains the custody of Jordan only for a week, but refuses to return him to June. That's when Jordan was coached to make allegations against Jackson. Jordan now claims he was molested by Michael Jackson. But what does Evan do? Instead of reporting to authorities, he reaches out to Jackson, demanding $20 million to not to turn to authorities and not to go public with the allegations. Jackson, however, declined this demand. It is clear that Jackson had plenty of opportunities to pay off the Chandlers and to stop them from going to authorities, had he really wanted to. However, he refused to do so. Why would an individual who's guilty of a crime not pay off his victims right away in order to silence them and preventing the allegations from being reported? After June's intervention, the court ordered Evan Chandler to return the boy to his mother. As an answer to the court order, and frustrated by Jackson's refusal to pay him off, Evan was left with no choice but to go public with his allegations.
There have been many disgusting statements made recently concerning allegations of improper conduct on my part. These statements about me are totally false. As I have maintained from the very beginning, I am hoping for a speedy end to this horrifying experience to which I have been subjected. I have been forced to submit to a dehumanizing and humiliating examination by the Santa Barbara County Sheriff Department and the Los Angeles Police Department earlier this week. They served a search warrant on me which allowed them to view and photograph my body, including my penis, my buttocks, my lower torso, thighs, and any other area that they wanted.
According to Jackson's makeup artist Karen Faye, Michael humbly invited the examiners, sat down, and shared a meal with them. And when they left, he burst out into tears.
It was the most humiliating ordeal of my life. One that no person should ever have to suffer.
According to Geraldo Rivera, the video of Jackson's strip search was shared around the police precinct, like a movie, and they were showing it to outsiders too, including Geraldo himself.
And even after experiencing the indignity of this search, the parties involved were still not satisfied and wanted to take even more pictures. It was a nightmare, a horrifying nightmare. But if this is what I have to endure to prove my innocence, my complete innocence, so be it.
5 search warrants were issued to carry out searches on Jackson's properties. Vigorous searching led to no incriminating evidence. The authorities interviewed around 40 to 60 children and their parents, who had ever spent time with Jackson or at his Neverland ranch. All were defensive of Jackson, and no one corroborated Jordan's story. Later, Evan's lawyer, Barry Rothman, stepped back from representing the Chandlers, after Jackson filed for extortion charges against him and Evan Chandler. The Chandlers hired another attorney, Gloria Allred. But a couple of days later they fired her, and replaced her with a civil attorney, Larry Feldman, since she wanted to pursue criminal charges first. According to Ray Chandler, Evan Chandler's brother, this was because the Chandlers wanted to steer the case toward a highly profitable settlement, rather than a grand jury indictment and a criminal trial. Evan and David Schwartz later had an argument about the settlement money that they had not even received yet. Schwartz demanded $4 million, while the Chandlers did not want to include him in Jordan's complaint. In the heat of this verbal battle, Evan sprang from his seat and slapped Dave in the face. Several of the lawyers stepped between the two and separated them. The Chandlers then filed a $30 million civil lawsuit against Jackson, accusing him of sexual battery, seduction, willful misconduct, intentional infliction of emotional distress, fraud, and negligence. The civil suit was settled out of court, which was publicized by the media and tabloids as hush money. The settlement was made months after the allegations had gone public. By no literal sense could it be referred as hush money. Why would an innocent man settle? The media has certainly taught you all their version of answer, but not the complicated circumstances that led to the civil settlement. Keep in mind, Evan Chandler filed a civil lawsuit rather than filing a police complaint. Normally, civil complaints are only filed after the criminal proceedings are completed and justice has been served. One would naturally—
Just like OJ, there wasn't a civil case till after the criminal case. That should have been a red flag, but the media was not worried about that, so.
expect the parents of a molested child to pursue justice, and not money when they have the chance to do so. However, that was not the case with Chandler's. To achieve the settlement goal, the Chandlers played the California legal system masterfully. They took full advantage of the California law that allowed civil case to proceed ahead of criminal case. There are many precedents where civil proceedings have been frozen to allow the criminal trial ahead, preserving a defendant's right to a fair criminal trial, and preventing that right from being violated. However, in Jackson's case, all such attempts by Jackson's lawyers to stay the civil proceeding were dismissed by the judge.
And I think that's why they decided to settle, because when they weren't getting that, they're like, this doesn't look good. I still wish you didn't settle, but I think that was an indication, like, if we can't get a motion to do the criminal before the civil, I don't know, like, how good of a chance we got of winning. So, in that case, I don't know, man. That was tough.
The assistant of Barry Rothman, who represented the Chandlers, revealed in details on what went behind the closed doors between Rothman and the Chandlers.
And he was behind closed doors with my attorney, the Jordy Chandler was. I actually opened up the door one day. I was leaving and I opened up the door and Jordy was in the back, and he kind of looked a little startled because I looked and I saw him, and I was like, nobody in the office knew that he was even there. June never did agree with the allegation, but after the allegation hit, they were meeting in my attorney, David Schwartz, June Chandler, Evan Chandler, and my attorney. They were all meeting behind closed doors in my attorney's office. And I heard Evan blurt out, he says, my ass is in danger of going to prison right here. Inside the law office, the only thing they were asking for was money. Where's this money? How much? They were sending discovery in, and the discovery was only trying to find his money.
They will be destroyed forever. They will be destroyed. June is going to lose Jordy. She will have no right to ever see him again. Yeah. That's a fact, Dave. That's what's Does that help? Michael's career will be over. Does that help Jordy? Michael's career will be over. And does that help Jordy? It's irrelevant to me.
Does this sound like a father who's concerned about his son? Or more of an extortionist, who wants to avenge for his hurt ego? Chandler and his attorney Larry Feldman did everything in their power to scrape off any possibility of having the criminal case go ahead of the civil trial, while the Jackson side strived hard to push the criminal proceedings ahead of the civil process, for Jackson to clear his name in a possible criminal trial, in order to prove his innocence. However, his repeated pleas and motions to carry on with the criminal proceedings got rejected by the judge 4 times, and eventually the civil trial was allowed to go ahead of the criminal trial. Michael Jackson and his attorneys were forced to settle the civil case out of court because of Jackson's amendment rights being violated. Ask yourselves, why would a guilty man take up such a dreadful risk that could end him up in jail, than to pay off his victims, even though he had an excellent opportunity to do so long ago? And why would a father seek a monetary restitution from his son's abuser, instead of making sure that the molester is behind bars? Keep in mind, only the criminal trial can send the alleged perpetrator to jail. A civil trial can only result in monetary award. While the accused Michael Jackson did everything he could to pursue criminal case, the accuser Evan Chandler did everything to pursue civil case. While most media outlets raised the question as to why an innocent man would settle out of court, nobody battled an eyelid on the fact that, why would the parent of a victim would go for a civil approach and not send the perpetrator to jail for traumatizing his child?
Think about it yourself. And Michael molested your son. Would you ask for money? Would you? No, you wouldn't ask. If Michael molested your child, you wouldn't ask for money. But you would do, the first thing a man would do is beat the heck out of him and then call the cops.
And do you think a father would accept money, that would make it okay, that would make everything all right? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I know that if that were my son, I'm sorry. I don't care if you gave me $1 billion. I want to see you either behind bars or dead for the rest of your life for doing that to my son or my daughter. It's crazy. The guy was after money is what he wanted.
The case was settled out of court with proper legal documents. So how can that be termed as hush money if the settlement was known to everyone? Jackson did everything he could to get justice. How can it be silence of victims when it was done under jurisdiction? In fact, it was the Chandlers who wanted to be silenced by Jackson. It is important to emphasize that it was the Chandler family who demanded a settlement from the very beginning, and it was not Michael Jackson who sought or offered it. Also keep in mind that the civil case was settled for negligence and not for child molestation.
The resolution of this case is in no way an admission of guilt by Michael Jackson.
The settlement didn't prevent the Chandlers from testifying against Jackson in a criminal court. But once they received the settlement, they refused to cooperate with the authorities because they were never interested in the criminal proceedings in the first place. Their only focus was money from the very beginning. The criminal case.
And that's what's so hypocritical about media is like you can investigate everything else, but you're not going to ask the questions, why didn't this go criminal? Like, why wouldn't you ask that? Why wouldn't you ask, why aren't we trying to put him in jail if you really believe he did these things? It's more of I think it's more of a humiliation ritual more than anything. They didn't care if he did it or not. It was just more of, we can disgrace him. That's all we care about. Because if you really felt that way, you would have tried to see, well, why don't we, like they did with OJ. Like everybody believed OJ did it. So it's like, why aren't you treating Michael like that? Because you know he didn't do it. So, yeah.
Still went to court, in which 2 grand juries convened by the local DA Tom Sneddon didn't find any evidence to even indict him. Moreover, Jordan in 1994 at the age of 14, sought legal emancipation from his parents, and didn't speak to them for over a decade. And when the prosecution sought to get Jordan subpoenaed to testify, he threatened the investigators that he would legally fight any attempt to do so. And years later, in 2005, Jordan obtained a temporary restraining order against his own father, when Evan Chandler struck his own son on the head from behind with a 12.5-pound weight, and then sprayed his eyes with mace or pepper spray and tried to choke him. A judge found that the weight could have caused serious bodily injury, or even death. Later Evan Chandler sued his own son, in order to get hold of the settlement money that was put in a trust in Jordan's name. This wasn't it. There was a never-ending chain of civil disputes between them, as they ended up suing each other in numerous cases. Evan Chandler again sued Jackson, in order to cover the sum of $68,000, which he owed to his ex-wife June under child support. Evan then filed a complaint against David Schwartz and June Chandler, for invasion of his privacy. Schwartz countersued Chandler in a cross-complaint. Lisa Marie Presley too was dragged by Chandler amidst the disputes. Evan didn't even spare his own son, and sued him to get hold of the settlement money. It's quite evident that the family of the Chandlers was a dysfunctional one, with all the adults just hankering after money.
I think all this because he had like a flat tire or something. That's crazy. All because he had car troubles. God, man. Just bad luck. What you got? What you got?
In 2019, a key witness for the first time appeared in Danny Wu's documentary Square One, revealing her personal experience with Jordan.
And a young man came up to me and told me that he liked my shirt, and that young man turned out to be Jordan Chandler. He made his own music. He would describe it as pop R&B like Michael Jackson. I remember that because he said it many times very clearly. He would wear fedoras. When I think about the people in the program that I saw him with, the people that he did surround himself with were people who were Michael Jackson fans. You know, I was told that at a party, Jordan, played all of Michael's music, danced like him, did all of his moves, and that his apartment was almost sort of a shrine to Michael, that there was a lot of different fan memorabilia. Immediately after the Martin Bashir documentary aired, we had a program meeting, and there was a discussion about, whether or not Michael Jackson was a child molester. People were calling him freaks. During that conversation, Jordan Chandler chimed in and said that he too believed that Michael Jackson wasn't capable of the things he was being accused of. And he said that voluntarily, and he said it without my prompting, and he wasn't asked. And, throughout the semester, there were different occasions like that where he would, again, sort of reaffirm things that I said in defense of Michael Jackson. It was shocking that he would speak up, and it really affirmed my belief that Michael was innocent. And, given things that Jordan had said separately, having nothing to do with Michael Jackson, about his home life, it affirmed my belief that he was a victim of his parents' greed and that he was forced to say certain things.
The father of a boy who back in the early 1990s, in a highly publicized case you probably remember, accused Michael Jackson of molesting him. Well, that father committed suicide in Jersey City.
Evan's end was a tragic one. He was found dead in his apartment, as he had shot himself, committing suicide 4 months after Jackson's death. Evan Chandler was known by many in the Beverly Hills area to be an opportunistic and exploitative man. Unfortunately, Michael Jackson found out too late, after Evan had already set his extortion scheme in motion.